Let's talk today about reserve studies and property condition assessments, how they're similar, how they're different. So first of all, if you manage a condo association, HOA, townhome association, every one of you should have a reserve study on file. You should have a reserve study done, and it should be updated every 3 to 5 years to make sure that it is up to date. And I'm going to tell you why. So let's start with reserve studies. These are probably something that most of you are familiar with already. If you're not, this is a study that pairs building inspection work with financial planning. And a reserve study, your reserve study provider will ask you, what are the common elements at the property? What are the elements at the property that the association is responsible for maintaining? In a condo association, this might be central air, parking garage, roofing, exterior walls, windows, common area doors. In an HOA, this might be the asphalt, concrete sidewalks, clubhouse. Townhome association, this might also include things like roofing and exterior walls. So they'll get the full list of what the association has a fiduciary responsibility to maintain. And then they will go out and assess each one of those elements. They'll estimate the remaining useful life of that element, and then they'll tell you what the present day expense is to replace that item, as well as what the future expense is to replace that item, and help you forecast out those expenses. In addition to that, they will look at the reserves that the association currently has on hand, how much cash they have, what the cash flow is, what the HOA fees are, how much money they're collecting, and then they might give you a recommendation on, hey, these are some big expenses you have coming up the next 5 to 10 years. You're going to need to increase your HOA fees by X amount to make sure that you can fund these repairs or replacements without having to do a special assessment. That's what everyone is hoping to avoid. No one likes special assessments. Obviously, no one likes increased HOA fees, but the association does have a duty to maintain those elements. So if fees need to go up, a reserve study is a great way to take that to your board meeting and say, hey, our fees have to go up, and here's why, because we have to pay for X, Y, and Z. So reserve studies will generally forecast out 25 to 30 years. Obviously, the further away you get from year zero, when the study is performed, the less accurate those estimates are going to be, which is why we recommend get them done every 3 to 5 years. They should be updated. Now, conversely, there are property condition assessments. Property condition assessments are another tool that an association can use to understand the general health of the property. A property condition assessment is a little bit more focused on the actual inspection work and short-term priorities. So maybe you have a reserve study on file, or your association is in disrepair. You have a couple of large projects coming up in the next 5 to 10 years. That might be when you want to elect to have a property condition assessment done. The engineer or whomever is performing the PCA will similarly look at all the components that the association is responsible for maintaining, and then they'll provide a little bit more accurate remaining useful life on those elements, and then help you prioritize them. A PCA will include a priority list that says, hey, you need to tackle the roof immediately. Otherwise, you're going to have some severe costs or consequences in the near future. So, if you are trying to decide if you need to look at the foundation or parking garage repairs or exterior wall or roofing, a PCA is going to help you prioritize those things. And instead of looking 25 to 30 years out, it's just looking 5 to 10 years out typically. So reserve studies, the actual inspection work is somewhat limited. The requirements per reserve studies is 20% of each of those elements to make your estimates. So property condition assessment is going to be a little bit more thorough of an inspection. Again, reserve study is kind of the baseline. Every association should have one of these. In some states already, there are requirements that associations have these on file. I know in the state of Illinois, it's not required to have a reserve study, but if you do have a reserve study, you are obligated to provide it to owners and residents should they ask for it. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight on how these studies are similar and how they differ, and helps you make choices on which to choose moving forward. So if you have any more questions about that, we're always available. So feel free to ask us.